Good afternoon and welcome to this inaugural webinar from Better Business Bureau. We are so glad that you are with us. We are definitely in some trying times for business, and we are here to help build trust during these trying times and bring to you a number of experts over the course of the next several weeks that are going to help you in your business. That is the only reason that we are here, helping you navigate these trying times and do it with trust. Today, we're really fortunate to start off with Dr. Baiya. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dr. Baiya, as well as let you know that over the course of this 30-minute webinar, we're going to work to keep it interactive. So you'll see some polls come up. You'll see us ask questions of you as we go along, and be free to log in, use the Q&A box that's there as part of this webinar, and then we'll answer those questions in the last 10 minutes of the webinar, and we'll definitely set time aside for that and be watching for the poll as well. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Baiya. He's personally a good friend of mine. My name is Dale Dixon. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for Better Business Bureau, and Dr. Baiya has we have known each other, I think, Dr. Baiya, for a number of years, and it has been fascinating to watch Dr. Baiya work with small business. And he will go in to businesses that you would think have a long tradition of being very stable, something like as simple as maple syrup, and help that maple syrup company find a completely new way to do business and generate millions of dollars for that company in the meantime. So when we were thinking about how do we help business be better, Dr. Baiya's name was the first one that came to mind. He is a trusted guide to business leaders. He uses a 6-stage process to help businesses identify, define, develop, verify, commercialize, and scale ideas so that a business can learn, grow, and thrive. Evans is the co-author of the award-winning book, The Innovator's Advantage. He's also the co-creator of the Innovator's Advantage Academy. It's a detailed step-by-step innovation training for innovators and business leaders. You can connect with Dr. Baiya. Visit price-associates.com. And we'll also make his email address available as well. I'll let you know that Dr. Baiya has 3 master's degrees, 1 in chemistry, 1 in engineering, 1 in business, and a PhD in engineering technology. He's not busy enough there. He managed $65 billion, that's a B as in boy, $1 billion in intellectual property for applied materials in Silicon Valley. So incredibly accomplished. Dr. Baiya, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Dale.
We'll let the viewers know and the participants know this is a live webinar for BBB Accredited Businesses, businesses that have taken a pledge to uphold the BBB standards. Just for these businesses, we are recording this webinar, and we're also playing it live on our private Facebook page just for accredited businesses, and we'll make this webinar available to the greater public at a later date. But thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Baiya, and I will say the floor is yours. Take us through this 3-step model.
All right. Thank you, Dale, and welcome, everybody. This 3-step model was developed out of a necessity over the years. I remember going through the 2008 economic downturn, and we were always thinking about how do we address those things that are stressing our business and our clients' businesses during that time. And we developed this 3-part model to actually help us navigate that complexity of a recession. In this case, we have a recession right now that is because of the virus, but this model can be used anytime. But we are going to talk about short-term wins. How do you, as a business, move from where you are today and either sustain what you have always had or at least thrive during this 60 to 90 days? We always say that's the most critical part of creating the right methodology so you can grow out of recession. Because most of the times we find that most businesses overreact during crisis, and sometimes you don't recover from it. So this 3-step model is supposed to help us think doing both things in times of stress. And So as I mentioned already, it's about thriving or surviving. At least you don't go down, you thrive or survive, but at least you maintain your place in the market. So out of crisis, think of companies that have been started over the years, also have survived or thrived during recessions. Actually, if you go back to the American economy, you go back to 1800s, right? You look at companies like GE, Disney, in the 1920s. In the early 2000s, Tesla. How about Netflix? There are so many companies that actually were started during recession, or some companies that were really small, getting into recession or during crisis, and they actually won and thrived through the recession and then became large companies. As a matter of fact, I remember this study that was done by Kaufman Foundation in 2009, in the middle of the last major recession we had in the United States. And this was fascinating. 50% of companies in the Fortune 500 list in the US at that time were launched during the recession. So a recession doesn't mean the end of the world. Actually, there is hope. And by the way, this ratio is more than 50% right now as we speak, and we expect it to be more than 50% as we get through this crisis. So let me talk about the model itself. It's called the WOB model, Worry, Opportunity, Barrier model. And as I said, it's a very simple, but very actionable model that I'm going to teach you today. So it has 5 principles. Principle number 1 is that worry is part of any crisis. We expect you to worry. We are worried as well. Acknowledge the stress and the source of that stress. So let's not pretend that we are not worried. Let's not pretend that we are not stressed. We are stressed. We have a lot of concerns in our heads, in our minds, and in our hearts. It's okay. We just need to acknowledge that. The second thing is, we need to realize that every stressor or every worry brings an opportunity. There is the other side of that coin. We're going to talk about that here shortly. The next one is clarity is an accelerator towards successful navigation out of any crisis. So if you have crisis, the number 1 goal should be to have a clear head and a clear heart that allows you to navigate that crisis. Most of the times we make decisions without being clear, we are reactive, and I think we lose some really good opportunities to actually benefit from a crisis. The 4th principle, which is a really important principle, is it takes more than knowledge to navigate a crisis. We all have an idea in our heads of how to navigate something, but emotional stability is critical during crisis. The ability for you to say, you know what, let me think through this before I act. Let me actually consult the right people. Let me actually be self-aware and socially aware before I react. That is really, really important. So we always say during crisis, moments of crisis, EQ is much greater, much important than IQ. The last piece is we all have the ability to create, to be creative and survive or thrive through any crisis. So I just want to encourage you that we all have options, but we can be creative, but we have to have the other 4 principles in place. So with that in mind, let me talk about worries for a second. So as we have been talking to people, we have all kinds of worries. Some of you are worried about layoffs, others are worried about employee health, customer health, length of recession, how long is this going to be? We are worried about keeping the doors open, we are running low on cash. Others, we are worried about supply chain changes, losing customers. Is there going to be a new normal? What would that new normal look like? Competition. Competition is going to eat us for lunch, for example. We may be worried about that. Or I don't have the right technology to compete. And there are others that I'm sure you have that are not listed here. So I would like you to tell us, what else are we missing? What else should be on this list? So this gives us an opportunity for you to contribute and tell us what should be on this list as well. What else are you worried about?
And also, we're joined today by Jamie Dillon and Jason Kama with the BBB team. And I'm going to ask Jason to pull the poll up. Are you ready for the poll, Evans?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I know Mike Harbor is saying cash flow is big. So in addition to being able to list some of your own ideas in the chat box, we also welcome you to identify the one most significant worry for you in the poll that's up on your screen right now.
Very good. I can see some data coming in. This is wonderful.
Looks like cash flow, cash liquidity, along with the length of the recession are two front runners right now.
Yes.
As we have a few more coming in, a few more results coming in.
Very good.
All right.
So based on this, you are saying length of recession is what you're worried most about. However, keeping the doors open and running out of cash are some of your biggest worries. Thank you. Continue to input the data. We would love to get as much data as possible on this particular question. It's important for you to understand that you have multiple, you all know, we all have multiple worries. However, I want us to focus on one for this particular workshop because we don't have as much time. So let's actually zoom on one of these. But before we do, I want to help you with one key principle. While we think of worries as problems, not every worry is a problem. Sometimes a worry is a symptom of a bigger problem. And sometimes if we are treating a symptom, we miss the opportunity to address the deeper root of the problem. So we want to make sure that you ask yourself, is, for example, layoffs. Is layoffs a symptom or a problem? And we always say layoffs is a result of something. So layoffs is a symptom of something that let it happen. So that is an example of where we always say, make sure that as you are starting to work on your worries, which is what we are going to start working on now, make sure you're not treating the symptom, you're treating the problem. So we can always ask questions like, what led us to having these layoffs and things like that. But that's a lesson for another day. So we have already gone through these worries. So I'm going to pick one among the top three here. And actually the second one here is cash. We're running low on cash. So of course, as a business, it's always a big one. So now that I'm worried that I'm running low on cash, what would happen if, what happens once we run low on cash? For example, you can say, we're not going to be able to meet payroll. We'll not pay bills. We will not be able to fund projects. That's what running low on cash will cause us to do. Please note that these are just some of the examples. There could be a lot of other things that running low on cash would lead to. But before you decide to do anything, think about the opportunity that running low on cash brings you. Because as I said earlier, for every crisis, there is an opportunity. So we always say, what will the worry do to you or your business if you do not address it? Of course, if you're running low on cash and you don't address it, something will happen. But always remember this, you cannot worry yourself out of a crisis. You have to do something. You have to do something. So the next piece is now let's turn the coin, if you will, or flip the switch, whichever one you would like. So the other side of the worry is the opportunity. So we say, what opportunity does having cash, going low on cash bring to you? So for example, provides you the opportunity to reduce payroll burden. Doesn't mean it may lead you to doing layoffs, but that's not necessarily what you're trying to get to. It gives you an opportunity to reduce payroll burden. It gives you an opportunity to restructure some loans that you may have, or gives you an opportunity to go get some assistance from government, from investors, from other interested parties. It gives you an opportunity to restructure company. And this you can do quickly. So you can take any of these 4 opportunities, and then that is the one you act upon. But if you may get here and you have done all the thinking, and since you have not decided, still you're not going to solve the problem. So we always say pick one. Pick one that you're going to work on the next 30 days, the next 60 days, the next 90 days. Just pick one at a time. If you can do more than one at a time, great. But typically we will say just pick one at a time. And you'll be amazed how quickly you can actually address some of these. So let's pick one. But before I do, I want to remind you that if you don't execute, you're not going to get the solution you're looking for. You cannot think yourself out of a crisis. We just said earlier that you cannot worry yourself out of crisis. The same is true. You cannot think yourself out of crisis. You have to execute and so that you can actually get the results. So you identify and remove the barriers for execution. What are the barriers for you saying, so in this case, let's say you decided, I am going to reduce payroll burden. And there were several options. One of them would be, we are going to move everybody from 40-hour work week to 30-hour work week. We don't want to lay off anybody. We just want to reduce the amount of money required to pay payroll. So we are going to ask people to work less. Oh, that sounds like a great idea. But now that introduces some other challenges, some other barriers that you must overcome. For example, we just picked 2 of them. How are you going to communicate that? How are you going to let people know exactly what you have been thinking, how you came to this conclusion of 30-hour work week? How is that going to work for you, your team, your customers, their families? You have to think about all those different things. How are you going to do the scheduling now? You're used to everybody working 40 hours. Now they have to work 30 hours. How are you going to manage people working less, monitoring who works when, scheduling who works when? That could be a barrier to your success. So you have now to have the right structure. You have to have some tools and systems to help you address these barriers. One of the biggest mistakes I see is you come up with the right opportunity, but since you don't have very simple systems to manage that opportunity, it ends up being not executed the right way. And then you find yourself not actually getting out of crisis. We always say, when you are in crisis, simple is better, or simplify. So if you are used to running a certain way, during crisis, look for ways to simplify your operations, simplify the language, simplify communication, simplify the way you communicate to your customers, the way you deliver goods and services. That will always allow you to see everything more clearly so that you can actually get out of the crisis. So with that in mind, we have gone through the worries, we have flipped that over, and we have seen some opportunity, and we have then looked at that opportunity and we said, you know what? We understand what the barriers are, and now we go execute them. This is something that you can do quickly. So let me summarize it this way. There's this interconnection between worry and opportunity. There are some questions you need to ask and make some decisions. But remember, you don't make a decision at the worry level. You wait, or you make the decision after you have looked at the opportunities. Then after the opportunity, you look at the barriers. And out of that, you think about the tools and systems, simple tools and systems to help you manage that opportunity, the barrier. Because this is what always happens. If you actually don't simplify, then you end up actually getting more worried. You get more data, then you have people elements, and then this cycle actually doesn't work. You actually stay on that top circle, which is worry. We want to address the worries by making sure that we have tools and systems to address the small opportunities that we see in this crisis. So in summary, what are you worried about? I'm sure you're worried about something. What are you worried about? Make a list, prioritize it. Pick one. Second thing is, take the most critical worry, identify the opportunities it provides you, make a list, make a decision what to execute first. Please do not execute more than one thing at a time until you get to the discipline of working with this model. Because what happens is we try to make too many changes too fast. We are becoming reactionary at that point, and we actually lose the opportunity to maximize the value. The last one is identify barriers for execution. Identify very simple tools. You may even have to stop using complex tools so that you can simplify your life a little bit, so that now you can focus on executing on what you believe will give you the greatest value. Create a system that supports you to be successful. So after the webinar, we are going to send you this one-page canvas. It's called the WOB canvas. It helps you reduce stress, create clarity, and get stuff done. And on the very top here is your 90-day goals. What do you want to see out of your business in the next 90 days? Now, what are those worries? List them here, write them down, acknowledge them, pick one at a time, put them as an opportunity, a barrier, then think about the tools, the system you need to actually address that particular worry, right? And then think about the people and the data on this on the bottom left. Who is responsible to make sure that those barriers are removed and the opportunity is maximized? When do you start doing it? What is the cost of doing that? What is the value to the business? And the most important thing is that success day. Successful. 30 days, 60 days from now, make sure that at one point you come back to this canvas and, man, we got it done in 30 days or 60 days or whatever it is. We want to celebrate you addressing the worry. And you can take this for 5, 6 different worries that you have and actually use this tool every day to make sure that you're moving along and everything is documented. But it starts with you being very, very clear. This is what I'm worried about. These are the opportunities, and move on like that. So as we don't have a lot of time, so what I'm going to be doing is we are going to give an opportunity to 5 accredited businesses to actually get a 30-minute coaching with me. And what we're going to do is you send an email to that, the first 5 businesses to send an email to that email address, content@thebbb.org. We will schedule a 30-minute call with you sometime this week or early next week. And we're going to go through your canvas with you. And we're going to see if we can help you address some of these worries that you may have. This is complementary to BBB, Northwest and Pacific. And we are in all this together as entrepreneurs, as business, and we are here to support each other. And this is our gift to you. On that note, you can always find more about us at price.association.com or theinnovatorsAdvantage.com. I want to encourage you, keep innovating. Yes, we'll get out of this crisis. Worry, opportunity, barrier, you can do this. Thank you, Dale.
Oh, Evans, thank you so much. That was a huge help to recenter us. And thank you for the very generous offer of those 30-minute coaching sessions. We'll let our participants know it is, there's no strings attached with that. Evans is doing that out of the generosity, kindness of his heart for the BBB Accredited Businesses. And we really appreciate that, Evans. That is huge.
You're welcome.
We've been watching the chat bar, and thank you so much for engaging with us as we have been watching this closely. A few things come to mind immediately. I haven't seen any, in the Q&A box, we do have a Q&A up, but it's more of a statement and not necessarily a question. We're going to add that to what we see in the chat box. I'll tell you what, from the worries that we have seen, this is going to, number one, fuel future webinars for BBB. So be watching your email inbox as we will go through and find those areas that you are worried about, and we will make sure and have future webinars on that. Also, we have a private Facebook page for BBB Northwest, and that should be an email communication to you, and it's only available to BBB's accredited businesses. It's an opportunity for you you to get in and have conversations with like-minded, trust-seeking businesses. And it's a perfect platform for that. And there's already some conversations starting there. There's actually a link to the private Facebook page that is now up in that chat box so that you can go there. Thank you very much, Kelsey, for doing that for us. And then also we have our BBB people writing blogs on a daily basis and providing content. And I'm going to ask that we put a link up to the page that we have where all of this content is housed for you, so you can grab that and be reading. We see our task here at BBB is to really help you weather this current storm and make sure that you have the tools you need to make it through it. We can't address all the worries. I see a consistent theme come up that about government help, and I know that is the big conversation back in Washington, D.C. right now at this hour as we record this. I don't think that we've got a final vote on that or anything's been sent to the president's desk, but we'll be watching that as well and looking for opportunities for businesses within the package that comes off Capitol Hill. Don't still see that we've had any questions come in while I've been doing the proverbial dance on the table, Evans. Any final words for us?
My encouragement to all the businesses is, first of all, we all have worries. And if we can just be clear that this worry doesn't have to be permanent. It can be seasonal by just following this model. This model works, and we are here to support small businesses. We are small business as well, and but we know that over the years, this model has helped us navigate whenever we have crisis. Just think about those worries. Think about the opportunities, because every worry has an opportunity. And once we address those barriers, we are always thriving on the other end. I'm looking forward to seeing the other companies that will come out of this crisis that we currently have.
Absolutely. To go back through those 5 points, I think just to realize that worry is part of a crisis. And when we accept that and recognize it, it's a tremendous opportunity for us. And stress brings the opportunity. It's oftentimes hard to look for the seed of opportunity inside of the crisis, but it is there. We have to be watching for it. So I'm looking for any more of the questions that have come in. The slides are going to be available. We're going to actually release this entire webinar that'll be up on the Facebook page and will be available to go and watch again. So I'm going to read this question to you, Evans, and we'll see if you've got an answer. This is all live. Lynn writes, I'm in the care management business, unable to see clients due to vulnerability and limitations. Challenges to continue with billable time despite only access via phone. Any ideas how to generate more money?
Yeah, that is a tough one, because we actually had another case where an accredited business who actually goes to do repairs in people's homes could not be allowed to go do the repairs. And so right now they're kind of caught up in a tough place. And one of the things that really helped that particular AB, and I'm going to encourage you to think about this in multiple ways. This is one of the many ideas we can always come up with, is that they were able to actually communicate with the client ahead of time on what precautions they are taking as a company to protect not only themselves, but to protect their clients. And because of those communications prior to coming on site, that allowed the clients to feel a little more comfortable.
Evans,
full 100% load, but at least if you can get 30-40% of those to allow you to come in, because you have taken that extra step of creating that trust, letting them know what you're doing and in the testing you're gone through or things like that, that allows, creates confidence, keeps the business going. There are other ideas like in case you sell these as a per visit, maybe you can even you may not be able to go in their homes right now, but you can book some businesses for the future. So at least all those opportunities are now gone, but at least you can be able to give them discounts or things like that, so that 2 months or a month from now, you can be able to go back and recover some of that money. So there's many ideas that we can talk through. If you are one of the 5 ABs that will get the 30-minute coaching, I would love to talk more about that.
Fantastic. And we are all having to get used to this video
Yes.
conferencing, and the technology is getting really strong, and and we're being forced to learn it whether we want to or not. So
Yes.
those are other opportunities for people to look, how do I run my business via video?
Yes.
Just like this. So
Yes.
Evans, thank you so much. Jamie Dillon, part of the BBB team, thank you for your help and support during this, along with Jason Kama, who is part of the BBB team in the background behind the black screen. We definitely appreciate the help with this. Be sure and be watching. We're going to have these live webinars just for accredited businesses every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. That is 1 p.m. Pacific Time. So you are always welcome to join us for these, as we will go into more topics coming up on the next webinar. Jason Jennings is an 8-time New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today best-selling author of those 8 books on leadership and reinvention for business. He's going to give us specific steps on leading our businesses through crisis. And it is a powerful conversation that we have on tap with Jason Jennings, one of the top, USA Today named him one of the top 3 in-demand speakers in the world. So we're really fortunate to have him with us again. Evans Baiya, Dr. Baiya, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and your insight with us, and for the tremendous gift of working with 5 accredited businesses. We really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And with that, we will close this webinar. Thank you for joining us.